In 2019, we began to build our dream.
But the journey started long before you were invited to watch.
We walked a path that spanned nearly 2 decades.
There were times of joy, pain, and everything in between.
Our lives have completely changed, and we're ready to tell you how it happened.
We're not holding back.
Our mistakes, regrets,
What we wish we could change, our best decisions.
and if we do it again, you'll hear it all.
Come back in time with us behind the camera and answer the question,
Is self-building worth it?
All right, guys, welcome back to Mr. Post Frame. This is our series, Is Self-Building Worth It? And today we're going to talk about framing up the interior walls of the storm shelter and above it, kind of what the purpose of that was and could be for you guys if you're going to self-build. But Emily, you want to talk about our design services and patron?
Sure. So we have an architectural design firm that focuses in on barndominiums. We can design stick, steel, or post frame, which can be really important when you're searching for a builder to have a set of plans that has the right kind of details included with it. You can check that out at back40buildings.com. We do stock designs. We offer custom designs. We work with builders as well. So if you're searching for a builder, this could be a good opportunity for you to connect with somebody. And then for those of you who are thinking about DIYing, for those of you who are thinking about getting into the Barndominium building business, if you're going to self-contract, whatever the case may be, we have a Patreon membership available to you. Our journeyman tier costs less than an hour of consulting with us for an entire year access to this membership. There's great resources. There's discounts on some of our resources. We have nearly weekly Zoom calls. We have chat platform that you're going to get pretty much, daily answers. We have an upper tier that you have a special email that you get to ask us specific questions. So it's really a great resource. It's a great place to get things that are dialed in according to your project.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and start this video and talk about kind of, what our purpose of the storm shelter, framing it up and all that kind of good stuff, the way we did it.
Yeah, let's dive in.
So what I'm doing now is I'm going to start framing up this storm shelter because it's too nasty outside to work on this porch. So I want to get this framed up fairly quickly. One, because whenever my kids come here, this is where they gravitate to, and if they fall in there, that could cause a major injury. I mean, this is a good example if you wanted to build. This is a basement. What I did, which we talked about in an earlier episode. So you could really put this under the entire thing if you wanted.
Right, yeah.
But kind of our purpose for it is we wanted a place to seek shelter underground. I mean, that's just what we're used to. We've always had houses with basements. A lot of our clients will choose the prefab metal ones, which are rated to withstand an EF5 tornado, which would be crazy. Mm-hmm. But how we utilize this space is, these are 8-foot walls. The garage ceilings are 10 foot. So I raised the floor of that up 1 foot. And then we have 8-foot ceilings, a little over 8-foot ceilings downstairs, and then 8-foot ceilings up above. And that's where we lived while we were finishing out the interior of the house. So I think it's a good option for people. So I did kind of beef this up. Like I said, the roughly 8-foot ceilings downstairs, 9-foot ceilings upstairs. And we had all of our kids sleeping downstairs and we were sleeping upstairs. Now, the stairs are not code compliant in this because the purpose of this is for us to get to a below ground place if there were to be a bad storm.
Right.
So if anybody wants to leave a comment about that, I've already stated these are not to code stairs. So we've established that.
Right.
But I did beef this up. I used a couple layers of 3/4 inch plywood over the top. I used metal straps to strap the walls down, for uplift. So it's pretty secure as far as handling a storm, like if we were down there.
Yes. One thing we haven't done that we probably should consider is we don't have something to shutter over the windows down there.
Well, the windows, the storm shelter is on the east side of the house. Our tornadoes will always come out of the southwest. Mm-hmm. So it's on the back side of the house. They're 6-foot deep window wells. So it's pretty safe.
Yeah.
and it's pretty protected. Now, it wouldn't be a bad idea to do that. And then our opening for the stairwell, my plan has always been to make a hatch, like where we can go down there and then pull the hatch down and have a couple like locking mechanisms to lock that down, so like, we wouldn't have any suction.
Right.
I mean, we've been getting tornadoes like every spring, so probably something I should do in the next 5 years.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I guess those are some things that, this is set up like a regular basement, and then those are the additional things you could do to give it a little bit more assurance, really, because it's going to protect you in the same manner that a basement would.
Yeah, right. Yep, and I did put a radiant heat loop on top of that, and I mean, it kept us warm when we were living in there. I think one thing we would definitely change, which we've talked about this in other videos, is we would have added a full bathroom. Nothing special, like a 5x8 bathroom with a tub shower, sink, and a toilet. If we would have done that, this would have been an epic setup.
Yes.
For living in the garage, because we had the candy kitchen. The kids were downstairs, we were upstairs.
Yeah.
It actually worked out really well.
Yes, yeah, like the kids' age worked in our advantage in this instance, so it was a disadvantage in a lot of ways because they were little, they were going to gravitate towards whatever would be really dangerous, like falling into an open hole or something like that. But then once we moved into the garage, it was to our advantage because they were still so young, so having them all together in one room wasn't a big deal. Now it would be a little bit more challenging to put everybody in the same bedroom for an extended period of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely doable. This would be more comfortable than living in a camper. Oh,
sure. Yeah, I mean, 100%. Even if all three of our kids, we have two girls and a boy. So even if everybody had to be in the same room together,
because I would say with the camper, like when we're in our camper, if somebody gets up in the middle of the night, you can feel the camper move.
Right.
Like, what I mean?
I don't know how people do the camper thing. I'm pretty resilient, and I just don't know that I could do that. So the other thing, I mean, we just had somebody tour our house the other day, and they're considering like what are their options, how can they get out on their land the fastest and stuff. And so we went over this, that like really finishing out this part of your home, like the garage, really focusing in on that before you do too much beyond concrete and maybe insulation in the main part of the house. Like, you can set yourself up to really be comfortable long term. There's a few things, if we had really been more intentional about it, like you said, the bathroom, but then just a couple of other things would have made it completely.
Yeah.
Like if we had covered all the walls with something, especially in our room, had added more outlets, that type of thing, like you could have made it work for a few years.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, which would save you if you are considering buying a camper versus doing something like this. I mean, you'd save a lot of money not purchasing a camper.
That is true. And your storm shelter wouldn't have to go in for service every other month.
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah. Yeah, and too, like there was a couple times we had bad storms, and it was just like really like potential for bad storms, and it was really nice. Like we just could all just go to bed because we knew the kids were already downstairs in the shelter.
Yeah, for example, I mean, I'm not sorry we have what we have, but like last night I was up in the middle of the night because we had the potential for bad storms, so I was sitting upstairs monitoring the weather, when it's like if they were just in a basement, which the reason I didn't have a basement is because I didn't want to deal with water, but I mean, they're all things to think about,
Yeah. Now, for those of you who are DIYing, but you are going to contract some of your project out, contracting somebody to excavate a space like this, do all the concrete, everything like that, you are going to spend more than you would if you just bought a pre-made shelter.
Quite a bit more.
Yes, quite a bit more. So if you're able to do it yourself, you're probably going to come in closer to even, maybe a little bit under, but you're going to get a lot more space, but you're still going to spend around the same amount of money, more than likely. So that's just something to keep in mind. So that's why a lot of our clients don't opt for that, just because it's quite a bit more of an expense.
It was cold. See my breath.
Yeah, talking about your stairs. Although you were a smashing hit with the stairs because it was like in a corner.
Do you think if we had to do it over again, you would put a basement?
Not under the whole house. I know we have a kiddo that would love it. Like she wants us to build a house and have all of their bedrooms in the basement.
Yeah.
But no, I like not having a basement. So, I mean, I guess it's different. I guess like the way that I like to keep the house set up, you know, because sometimes people use the basement as they're like, oh, it's nice because I can just shut the door and like whatever happens down there, like toys, food, all of that. And I just never like can handle living like that. So the basement would have to be just as clean as the rest of the house. So it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. I'm not looking for some space to just let it be destroyed 24/7.
Right.
Now, the thing with basements is that when you are below ground, they are you can leave them unfinished and not have any problems with your financing. So, you know, that is why sometimes why people do basements, is because it doesn't force them to go ahead and finish that space right away. So whereas with a second story, we do have clients that do that, where they don't finish their second story, but you end up having to still do a lot of it. And when it comes down to it, you're doing almost everything except actually finishing it. And then you just have to be really careful that you have it closed off. You know, you can't have it be like some open railing down to the rest of the house, because then it will be an obvious unfinished area of the home. So that's something to keep in mind, that if you're just looking for a way to expand your home at some point, a basement might be your better option if you're going with a financing, like with a lender.
Yeah.
But again, then you have the issues with potential, you know, can't get water in a basement if you don't have a basement.
Yeah, and the funny thing, I did put tile underneath the floor and a sump pump, and it's never ran.
Right. Which that I found out when I was doing our homeowner's insurance review, which you definitely want to do that on the regular. And we were getting charged for having a sump pump in our basement. And it was an extra, I think, $150 a year, which may or may not be a very big deal to you. But I was like, it's a waste of money, because even if that area would flood, there's nothing.
So did they cancel it?
Yeah. I removed it, and she just said, well, just so you know, if your sump pump fails and it ruins that area, then we won't cover it. And I was like, well, it's not really supposed to have. Now it does. I mean, it's just going to ruin all of your thousands and thousands of dollars of hunting equipment. And
I mean, all my hunting stuff's really off the floor except for some clothes.
Yeah, but that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's interesting. $150 a year for a sump pump.
Yeah, it's probably location. Yeah, you probably aren't going to get charged like that if you live somewhere.
The funny thing about that is like, I wonder, I mean, it doesn't matter for us because but like somebody that has a normal basement and they have water lines, what if a water line busts and like goes down the interior wall? Are they not going to cover it because you have a sump pump in your basement, when all reality that sump pump wouldn't keep your walls from getting damaged?
It has to be from a natural disaster.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, what if water was leaking from the wall in? Like, that has nothing to do with the sump pump. Which, speaking of insurance, we should touch on a little bit about how you insure your property as you're building it, like the owner's risk policy, and kind of explain that a little bit so people can understand, like, as you're self-building, how that comes into play. Sure. And why it's important.
Sure. So this is something, like with almost everything in this industry, you do have the option to shop around. So not every company is going to operate with the same rules, but our company, the way they operated is that we needed to have a builder's risk policy during the construction phase of the home. If you are building with a builder that offers your financing, so you don't technically own the home until the end of construction, they're going to carry that. But if you are the one that is securing the funding, you're going to need that builder's risk policy, and that covers your materials and and natural disasters, things that are beyond the builder's control, and that it wouldn't be something that would be their problem to handle. So like theft, if somebody takes a bunch of materials off of your site, that's the kind of stuff that builder's risk policy typically will handle. And so it's really important to have that. Now, our insurance company, the way that they operated was that they wanted to know how much is the project worth at this stage, and then the premium was based off of that amount. As the project continued, obviously we would check in and we would insure it for more. And then we got to a point where they said, this is like the full value, too close to the full value. We need to go ahead and convert this into a regular homeowner's policy at this point. So that's the process that we take. I know that we've had some clients that their insurance company just takes whatever the home is going to be worth in the end and makes a premium based off of that right away. And so then you pay for it during the course of construction. So those are things to keep in mind, and that is you absolutely want to have it if you're self-building, because it's really the only way that you're protecting any of your materials. Like we had a bad storm roll through a job site the other day, and like if something had been severely damaged, that policy would be covering that, because it's not the builder's fault that happened. Now, if you are hiring a contractor, you want to make sure they're insured, because they will carry commercial liability insurance, and that will cover damages that they do, like stuff that happens that would be their responsibility. All right, well, let's finish off this first part. Let's show your beautiful stairs.
I mean, they're not really beautiful, but if I ever painted them and stuff, they'd probably look pretty good. I still had it in my head at this point that this was going to be like a 2-story man cave.
Sure. Yeah, and they look pretty steep, and they're
really not bad.
They're not bad. You can't be.
I mean, from the video, they look steep.
Yeah.
But it's no different than having a loft and then having a ladder go up to the loft that people do in like.
Oh yeah, it's not like it's hard to walk down the stairs. You've got to.
I'm pretty confident that our parents, if they were at our house, could make it down those stairs.
Oh yeah.
Like just fine. Even your dad.
Right.
Who has trouble with his knee and his feet, but if it's scary enough, you could make it down there.
Yeah, if you're motivated,
That's why I always laugh about these inspectors to say, this window is 1 square inch short of being egress. I'm like, well, man, if you're afraid enough, I'm pretty sure that you can get out that 1 square inch less window.
Yeah.
And if you can't, might need to reassess.
There was a lot of questions about concrete ceiling. Could you have done a concrete ceiling? Why didn't you do a concrete ceiling? Disadvantages, advantages.
Concrete ceiling on
The shelter.
Oh, concrete ceiling, not ceiling.
Yeah.
You could 100% done a concrete lid on this. You would have had, basically what you would have had to done is framed up temporary walls underneath and then put plywood, 3/4 inch plywood, probably 2 foot on center, and then you could have put rebar in across the top, tied it to the walls, and poured a concrete cap on there. It was just a lot of extra work. I have 2 layers of 3/4 inch plywood screwed down my joists. My joists are, there's ties, metal hurricane clips from the floor system to the wall, and then the wall is plywooded, and then that is secured to the concrete floor. So I feel like it's going to protect us if the building caves in on itself or something like that. Now, a concrete is always going to be stronger, so there's no reason you couldn't do that. And maybe on the next one I do, if I ever do something like this again, I'll pour a concrete cap on it just to kind of show people how to do it.
Yeah, but you're like here in Iowa, this part of the Midwest, it's like you built it how you see basements.
Yeah, I just was trying to make it feel a little bit more like it could be a usable space. Mm-hmm. Could run wiring in there. Having a concrete lid would definitely create some other challenges, but it would be the most secure way to do it. What I would have done if I would have decided to do that is when I poured my walls, I would have had pre-bent 90s of rebar, and I would put, had those in my walls, so then when I poured my ceiling, that ceiling would have been tied to the walls. But yeah, definitely something you could do. And if you did it yourself, I mean, you just have to make sure you have enough temporary walls in there that you can support all of that concrete, and you have enough rebar through there.
Yeah, and not having the windows, that would have been, but like you explained earlier, you put it on the side of the house that is
the
opposite from where tornadoes come
And those
out of.
windows are literally completely below. The windows start at probably 1.5 feet below the top of the window wells, so they're down in there.
Right. Yeah, so the likelihood is extremely low. And I think if you would have gone to the effort of a concrete cap over this basement area, it probably would have made more sense at that point to have secured an above ground room in the house, like back in our closet or something like that. That's what people do more often.
No, I mean, like I said, I've always wanted to put a hatch over the opening, where like maybe where you just pull it over. There's a couple locks you put on there, so you go down there, you shut it, and that would get rid of the suction portion of the danger, right? So like if it did take the structure away, it's not able to suck out of there, which
Right.
I mean I feel like we'd be fine, but I mean there is always, maybe it is our time too.
Right, we have yet to have a tornado roll over.
Oh God, don't say that.
So
Wonder what my purpose for that was. Wanted the door lined up with my garage door so I could back my truck and take stuff out. Oh, probably my hunting stuff.
Yeah.
Because that was my whole plan, is that I could just back my truck in there, load up my hunting gear to go on all these hunting trips that I go on all over the place.
I mean, the thing is that
It was a plan, right?
it was a plan, and someday it will work. Like our garage, I tell everybody all the time, our attached garage is an excellent size for somebody to live out on an acreage, to have a few toys.
It's 2,300 square feet, man.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's an incredible size. It is not a great setup if you're trying to also run a business and you have equipment, tools, that type of thing. So, we have extra materials we're storing for clients, like it's just, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. As a standalone, it would be great shop.
Right.
Throw some 16, 18-foot sidewalls on that bad boy.
Look at you.
Look at that. That was definitely stretching it.
Yeah.
I got it though, watch.
Oh boy.
I will not be denied.
Yeah, at 1010, he's lifting a wall.
That's a 2x6 wall, by the way.
Wow.
No,
That would have been something.
I prepared. I put things on the trusses so it couldn't tip out.
You look.
Did you have to do a 2x6 wall?
You look
I
really
wouldn't have
proud
had
of
to,
yourself.
but I wanted it to be more soundproof if I wanted it to.
Soundproof for what?
See, I planned.
I mean, I'm
What
impressed.
were you doing there, Paul? They needed to be soundproof.
So if we decided to video in there, you could more room for some
Yeah.
Rockwell sound.
I know. We need to
safe
get our
and sound.
Rockwell partnership.
All right, I think we're probably good on this one, don't you think, Em? Mm-hmm. Think there's enough there, Justin?
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
All right, guys, so hopefully this was a little bit helpful if you're planning out your garage and maybe you thinking about living in it, some good ideas. We'll leave links to both these videos so that you can watch them in depth if you want. But as always, we appreciate you watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and we will catch you on the next video.